Most people think depreciation is just a line on a graph, but it isn't. Depreciation is the physical reality of your vehicle falling apart. It is rubber cracking, plastic becoming brittle, and metal fatigue setting in after thousands of heat cycles. When we talk about finding an SUV that is practically indestructible in the year 2026, we are not looking for the one with the nicest leather or the biggest screen. We are looking for vehicles engineered to resist structural fatigue, manage extreme heat stress, and survive the kind of neglect that sends lesser crossovers to the scrapyard. Today, we are looking at a mix of brand new models you can buy right now and the specific recent generations that have proven themselves to be bulletproof. We are ignoring the marketing fluff. We do not care about panoramic sunroofs or gesture control. We care about cast iron engine blocks, oversized transmission coolers, and frame rigidity. And because even the best manufacturers make mistakes, for every model on this list, we will tell you exactly which years to avoid, so you do not accidentally buy a money pit. Let's get to work. First up, the Subaru Outback Wilderness, the unibody tank of the modern market. You might see a station wagon, but the engineering specs tell a different story. Subaru did not just add plastic cladding, they fundamentally altered the thermal management of the drivetrain. The Wilderness trim gets a dedicated rear differential temperature sensor and, more importantly, a significantly upgraded cooler for the continuously variable transmission. Heat is the #1 killer of continuously variable transmissions. By upgrading the cooling capacity, Subaru allows this wagon to tow and climb steep grades without heat soaking the fluid, which is usually what leads to early transmission failure. We have seen the testing data on this platform. It survived sustained driving in heat of 127 degrees in Death Valley and towing tests on grades that cause domestic half-ton trucks to overheat. Another reason this makes the list is what Subaru removed. The Wilderness prioritizes mechanical function over sensor-driven luxury features. Fewer motorized creature comforts mean fewer electronic failure points when you cross 100,000 miles. Under the hood, you get the 2.4-liter turbocharged Boxer engine. This is not just the standard engine with a turbo added. It features reinforced connecting rods and a more robust block design compared to the naturally aspirated versions. It is overbuilt for the power it produces. Furthermore, the transmission in this model uses a high torque chain rather than the push belt found in cheaper units, making it far more resistant to slipping under load. However, you need to be careful with used Subarus. You absolutely must avoid the 2013 to 2015 models with the 2.5-liter engine. Those years were notorious for excessive oil consumption and early valve body failures in the transmission. If you want the unibody tank, stick to models from 2020 onward where the global platform improvements solved those structural issues. The V6 benchmark, Honda Passport. If the Subaru is about thermal management, the Honda Passport is the benchmark for mechanical simplicity. In a market completely obsessed with small displacement turbocharged engines, the Passport is the anti-complexity choice. It retains the naturally aspirated J-Series V6, an engine design that Honda has been refining for decades. Consumer Reports gave this platform a score of 97 out of 100, beating out vehicles that cost twice as much. That score is not an accident. It happens because there are no turbochargers to coke up with oil and no complex hybrid battery systems to degrade over time. You just have a large displacement 3.5-liter engine that is incredibly understressed in daily driving. It makes its power without high cylinder pressures, which dramatically extends the life of your gaskets and seals. While other manufacturers are trying to squeeze 300 horsepower out of 4 cylinders, Honda does it with 6, spreading the wear across more surface area. let's talk about the transmission. The Passport uses the ZF9 Speed Automatic. Early versions of this transmission in other cars were jerky, but after software updates, it has become one of the most durable transmissions in the Honda lineup. It handles high mileage without the slipping issues that plagued the older 6-speed units. Then you have the off-road capability. The IVT M4 all-wheel drive system uses mechanical torque vectoring. It is not just a brake-based system that wears out your pads to stop a spinning wheel. It physically overdrives the rear wheels to push you through sand and mud. This mechanical grip reduces the strain on your front differential components. The only real maintenance penalty here is the timing belt service every 100,000 miles. But that is a small price to pay for an engine that essentially refuses to die. However, even the Passport has a black sheep. You need to steer clear of the 2019 models. That was the first year of the revival, and they were plagued with infotainment electrical harness issues and early transmission software glitches that caused rough shifting. Stick to the later years, and you have a V6 tank that will run until the wheels fall off. The mileage marathoner is the Toyota Highlander Hybrid. Moving on to the numbers, let's talk about the mileage marathoner. If you want a vehicle that treats 300,000 miles like a warm-up lap, you look at the Toyota Highlander Hybrid. This is the commercial-grade family hauler. Next time you are in a major city, look at the taxi fleets. They are not running German luxury SUVs. They are running Highlander hybrids because they regularly hit 500,000 miles in the most brutal stop-and-go conditions imaginable. The hybrid synergy drive is the secret, and it simplifies the engine bay. By using the high-voltage battery and electric motors to spin the engine, Toyota eliminated the alternator, the starter motor, and the serpentine belts. Think about the last time a car left you stranded. It was likely a dead starter or a snapped belt. This SUV physically cannot suffer those failures because those parts do not exist. We need to address the transmission because the spec sheet says CVT, and that usually sends enthusiasts running. But you need to understand the difference. This is not a belt-driven CVT that relies on friction and eventually slips. This is an eCVT using a planetary gear set. It is a cluster of solid steel gears that mesh permanently with no belts to stretch and no cones to groove. It is mechanically superior to a traditional automatic for longevity because there are fewer wear items. Toyota subjects this chassis to 847 separate quality control tests, specifically focusing on battery thermal management. They know that heat kills batteries, so the cooling loop is over-engineered. That reliability is why this vehicle retains nearly 70% of its value after 5 years. The market knows the battery outlasts the warranty. You save money on brakes too, because the regenerative braking handles 90% of your stopping duties. However, reliability is not universal across all years. You must avoid the 2007 to 2010 hybrids. Those early models suffered inverter module failures due to poor soldering that could not handle thermal stress. It is a $4,000 repair on a vehicle worth $6,000. You want to prioritize 2020 and newer models to get the updated lithium-ion battery tech. The Luxury Fortress, Lexus GX 460 and 550. If the Highlander is the commercial choice, the Lexus GX is the luxury fortress. In 2026, you can choose between two legendary eras: the outgoing V8 in the GX 460 or the new twin-turbo V6 in the GX 550. Let us analyze the used market pick, the GX 460. It uses the 4.6-liter V8, an engine originally designed for third-world countries where fuel quality is poor and maintenance is optional. It uses a timing chain that never stretches and hydraulic power steering that rarely fails. It is a million-mile engine because it is never stressed. The V8 models are actually appreciating in some enthusiast circles because of this robust simplicity. This is about reliability. Now look at the new market pick, the GX 550. Enthusiasts worry about the turbos, but consider the duty cycle concept. This 3.4-liter engine was built to tow 12,000 pounds in the full-size Tundra. In the mid-size GX, it moves significantly less weight. It is operating at roughly 54% of its designed duty cycle. That means the turbo bearings, the connecting rods, and the cooling system are barely working during your daily commute. That lack of stress is what creates longevity. Focus on duty when you evaluate risk. Both generations rely on a fully boxed steel ladder frame, while unibody SUVs rely on sheet metal for stiffness. The GX sits on structural rails. That resists twisting off-road and prevents the rattles and squeaks that plague other luxury SUVs as they age. They also use the KDSS suspension. This is a hydraulic system, not electronic, that mechanically disconnects the sway bars for articulation. It delivers the comfort of air suspension without the complex airbags that leak and cost thousands to replace. That design adds to durability. For the years to avoid, steer clear of 2010 to 2012 models if you live in the Rust Belt. The secondary air injection pumps on those years had a design flaw that sucked in moisture and corroded. For the GX 550, avoid the very first production month of 2024 to skip early assembly teething issues. Avoid those specific years if you want the most reliable ownership experience. Finally, we arrive at the indestructible king, the Toyota 4Runner. This SUV remains the gold standard of reliability, largely because it is built in the Tahara plant in Japan, where factory workers are certified master craftsmen. The fit and finish from this plant are legendary, ensuring that panels align perfectly and seals remain tight for decades. Look at the 5th generation on the used market, and you find the 4.0-liter V6. It is ancient technology, inefficient, and painfully slow. That is exactly why it lasts 400,000 miles. It is never stressed enough to break. The 6th generation, new for 2026, moves to the shared TNGA-F truck platform used in the Land Cruiser and Tundra. It features fully boxed steel rails that resist corrosion and fatigue better than anything else in its class. The killer feature here is the part-time 4-wheel drive advantage. While modern crossovers rely on computers to detect slip, the 4Runner uses mechanical levers and transfer cases. There are 0 electronic sensors to fail when you are submerged in water or mud. This mechanical purity is why these vehicles often appreciate during shortages. They are viewed as survival tools rather than depreciating assets. However, you must be careful. Avoid models from 2003 to 2005 due to severe frame rust that can snap the chassis and lead to head gasket failures. For the 5th generation, skip models from 2010 to 2013 unless the secondary air injection system has been replaced, because that pump failure is a known weak point that can leave you stranded. To summarize, the common thread connecting these 5 vehicles is a prioritization of engineering tolerance over marketing gimmicks. Real reliability is a purchase decision, not a matter of luck. You pay for it in reduced fuel economy or by sacrificing the latest massive touchscreens, but you earn it back in longevity. It is a conscious choice to buy quality. These are the trucks that stay on the road while others sit in the shop. I want to know your take. Which of these 5 would you trust to drive across the country tomorrow without bringing a toolbox? Let me know in the comments below. If you found this deep dive helpful, hit that like button. Do not miss our next breakdown. Subscribe now. And if you want to know what the 10 best-selling cars are for 2025, watch this video next.